It is time to get excited for what comes next. So much is happening in crypto. Like, retail isn't even here yet. This is all Wall Street, institutions, and nation state driven. And we don't know if it's going to be today, later this week, next week, maybe 1 or 2 months from now, but we are in the last chance period of these price levels. You'll see a lot of people in the comments making fun of the phrase last chance, but we told you around 40K, 50K, 60K, 70K that you never get these price levels again at a certain point. And that same thing will be true for these price levels. Pick your spots, but we are in the last chance zone. Because I don't think most people realize what could happen over the next 6 months, and then what could happen over the next 2 years. Like, things are looking pretty bullish. Bitcoin is showing incredible strength. US markets are showing incredible strength. The Federal Reserve and Jerome Powell now constantly field questions about why they don't cut rates. The Fed cut rates under similar metrics at the end of 2024. Jerome Powell has now answered multiple times that they were intending to cut rates again by now, but the only thing stopping them is tariffs and the possible inflation uncertainty that comes with tariffs. So one thing is clear, Jerome Powell is feeling the pressure and rate cuts are coming ASAP, most likely this year, maybe multiple times this year. I bring this up to say rate cuts will be amazing for so many altcoins. Choose wisely, my friends. Ethereum, Solana, of course, but you tell me, which altcoins do you think are about to blow? My money's on the exchange. I'm ready to buy. Comment what altcoins you want us to cover more going into this coming bull run. And let's take a moment to highlight partner of the channel, a top project in the SWI ecosystem, Delorean and Delorean Labs. Congratulations, team, on a successful TGE token launch event today. Their token DMC is available on almost every major exchange, it looks like. Obviously, this is one of the biggest brands outside of Web3 and now in Web3. First major car brand to ever launch a native token. Largest brand to ever launch a native token. They have a marketplace for their new limited edition EV Delorean cars coming out in a couple years, already fully sold out. But check these guys out. I'm going to link them below. Besides directly on an exchange like any other major token, they're also doing a big airdrop, so you can get the token by getting involved in other ways. Check them out. Follow them on social media, linked below. Besides rate cuts, we have never lived in a world where the Fed gets asked so much about Bitcoin and crypto, and the Fed chair acts like, oh, matter of fact, of course banks can do everything they want to do with crypto. His answers here are huge for the crypto market. Listen to every answer Jerome Powell gives to these specific questions. Gives me chills.
Yesterday, the Fed announced that reputational risk would no longer be a component in bank exams. I viewed that positively. I viewed the reputational risk as often being a catch-all for political bias. I think it's positive to depoliticize bank exams and instead focus on the core and measurable risks. Could you provide color as to whether or not any new or new information came to light that led to the decision of the Fed to remove that yesterday?
I'm not aware of any new information. No, we just think it's the right thing to do, and of course made an announcement on Monday under Governor Bowman's, Vice Chair Bowman's leadership.
Why would it not have been done previously if it's the right thing to do? I agree with you, it's the right thing to do. Why was it? Any timeline as to why that was done yesterday versus previously?
No, I think this is a problem that we came to understand as a problem over the course of the last couple of years, and began considering what's going on here. We're hearing a lot of reports of debanking and that sort of thing. And over the course of really 2024, came to the view that this was a serious problem that we need to address. And we've said that publicly, and now we're doing this, and so are the other agencies, by the way.
I appreciate you taking that action. I do agree that there were real political bias in some of those exams, in particular as it related to regulated entities engaged in the digital asset space. Let me shift into the digital asset space. Another action recently taken by the Fed, the Novel Activities Supervision Program was ended and withdrew several statements on digital asset related risks that deterred bank involvement in particular. You in the Fed and others at the Fed have spoken positively about the House and Senate work to regulate stablecoin in particular, a real opportunity to dollarize the globe and be a significant purchaser of U.S. Treasuries. Following that action, by the Fed. Have you seen an identifiable shift in banks or other regulated entities as it relates to engagement in the digital asset space?
You know, I wouldn't be the one to be picking that up first, but what I do see is a very significant change in the tone, and it really does reflect evolving thinking and the evolving status of the crypto industry. And I would expect over time we'll see more activity.
How is the Fed evaluating and overseeing banks or other regulated entities that are in the digital assets or crypto space?
So our view is that banks get to decide who their customers are. That's not our decision. And so banks are free to provide banking services to the crypto industry, to crypto companies. And banks are also free to conduct crypto activities as long as they do so in a way that is, protective of safety and soundness.
And it seems like crypto has no enemies anymore. Enemies have now turned into allies as we're literally at the part of the adoption cycle where detractors join us. The Visa CEO here says that Visa is incredibly bullish on crypto and stablecoins. You'd think they'd say, F stablecoins. No, he says we love it.
We've been embracing and building for years, preparing for this moment. The Genius Act has now passed the Senate, as you know, and is expected to pass the House. I think that'll give regulatory clarity to stablecoins. And we've been embracing stablecoins. We've been enabling people to issue Visa credentials on top of stablecoins. We've been modernizing our own settlement infrastructure with stablecoins. And we have a whole host of innovations that we plan to deploy around the world embracing stablecoins.
The stablecoin bill is on everybody's minds nowadays, of course. But mindshare will quickly be switching and has already begun to shift to the next upcoming big regulation that's even more bullish for this space. The Robinhood CEO says that the Crypto Market Structure Bill, the Clarity Act, is such a huge deal for the crypto industry, this will send prices another leg higher.
Talking about crypto, we had a report this morning on the framework of this market structure bill, which I don't know, I imagine you've been focused on, I don't know. And some investors really see this as even more significant than the Genius Act, I think, in part because it would allow exchanges like yourself to register with the CFTC, which would then reduce, I imagine, SEC oversight over digital currencies. Is that the way you see it?
I think it's a big thing because if you look at crypto right now, over the past 4 years, the really interesting, high potential things in crypto have all been pushed overseas. So we're actually doing an event next week in the south of France, our first big crypto event, our first big international event. And one of the messages is Europe's actually ahead of the US at this point. So it's rare that America has to catch up in a frontier innovation industry, but here we are. So I think these bills provide much needed clarity for builders to actually bring back a lot of that innovation in the US, make it available in our home market.
And it's always interesting when you get these other tech leaders who aren't necessarily 100% crypto. But even the Robinhood CEO admits here that Bitcoin and crypto will replace traditional finance. That's what he's preparing for. This is huge.
I do think that crypto itself, there's two ways to look at it. One is a tradable asset like options, futures, and equities. The other is as a fundamental underlying technology.
Right.
And in the second lens, it's the next stage in evolution. We've gone from, paper and pencil, filing cabinet-based financial services to mainframe to on-premise, and then more recently cloud. Now, crypto is the next stage in that, where a lot of the business logic that we've required businesses to actually build is now shared infrastructure. So exchanges, lending pools, payment processors, all these things are replaced by software. So I think in the future, crypto technology will power trading and all sorts of financial services, including trading in stocks and other TradFi assets. So the two will fully merge.
So much is happening in cryptocurrency. You need to be subscribed and study the market and stay engaged every day. That's why subscribing to channels like ours and other channels, or watch for podcast interviews, or just staying in tune with what leaders in the space are saying and what's actually happening. It's so important. Time in the market is how you become a millionaire. And that's why I hope you subscribe to our channel and continue watching. We do have some banger videos, different interviews, top altcoin videos, deep dives coming out soon. So make sure you subscribe.